Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Clinical Trials Innovation Digital Day, brought to you by the producers of the online and face-to-face clinical trials events and content series. My name is Brianna Kosserfrat, and I'll be your host for today's session titled Reimagining IRT RTSM, Future-Proof Design for Ease, Speed, and a Better Experience for You and Your Sites. First, I'll cover some quick housekeeping items. If you experience difficulties with audio or advancing slides, refresh your screen with F5. If you're experiencing other issues, hit the question mark button to receive assistance. At any time during the presentation, submit your questions into the Q&A window on the left-hand side of your screen. In 24 hours, you'll receive a link to watch the recording of this session. Let's now begin by introducing our speaker for today's session. We have Ash Patel, Associate Director for Project and Program Management for Perceptive eClinical. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ashish. I'll now hand it over to you to begin the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are located in the world. And welcome to Perceptive's presentation, Reimagining IRT RTSM, Future-Proof Design for Ease, Speed, and a Better Experience for You and Your Sites. Before we get into it, a little bit about myself. So my name is Ash Patel. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about my own personal journey through the eClinical industry. So yeah, I've been at Perceptive for 19 years. I started out a long time ago now as a software engineer, programming studies and IoT solutions for protocols. And then over time, I graduated to software engineer manager. I was leading teams of developers and delivering improvements to our IRT systems. And then about 9 years ago, I decided to make a change to my life and my career. So I moved from, as you could probably tell from the accent, I moved from the UK and I now live in the US. But also I made a change in my career into the operational side of the business. And now initially that was as a project manager overseeing studies and managing trials. So my focus really shifted from technology to service. And then most recently as an associate director for the last year or so, I've sort of gone full circle. Using my experience in both the technology and service, and now focus on making sure that our eClinical systems are what the industry needs. So reliable, innovative, and user-friendly. So yeah, that's me. Thanks again for joining. I'm looking forward to sharing some of what I've learned here along the way. So let's dive straight into it. Okay, so over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll explore how both IRT technology and RTSM experts can support you in different ways across a clinical trial. Now, you expect a good IRT system to manage RTSM, but good technology added with experience can make the process more efficient across the life of the trial. Okay, so let's get into it. So we begin with the startup phase. This is a crucial phase of the study where a lot of early decision making can have a really big impact on the success of the trial. So let's dive into how the IoT can help with that. So starting off with site management. So sites can be loaded into an IoT system via an upload. But for a more seamless experience, it can also be done via an integration with a CTMS system or a clinical trial management system. The role of the IRT is to make the experience for site users as simple as possible. And I'll quote a sponsor that recently shared with me that their goal is to get the sites into the IoT to perform an action and get out as quickly as possible. So to achieve this, the system needs to be intuitive with downloadable manuals, protocol-specific tooltips and hover text just built directly into the system. As we navigate the complexities of supplies management, it's essential that an IRT system provide inventory release and lot management capabilities with flexible supply strategies to ensure medication is always available at site, while also minimizing drug wastage. Self-service DNX controls can help with that, and they can allow clinical supplies managers to efficiently manage stock levels and expiry at sites and depots. And while a flexible IRT system is crucial at Perceptive, we also offer expert consultancy and guidance on supply strategy algorithms, ensuring your study remains agile and well supported throughout its life cycle. Now, those same experts are also available before an IRT is live. So they can be engaged and used to generate randomization and medication lists prior to kickoff meeting, but also prior to manufacturing of those materials. So we're able to use our experts to help guide that process even before we've kicked off the study. And finally, study and cohort management. Of course, the IRT system should have the flexibility to open and close screening, randomization, enrollment, manage cohorts within the study at a country level or site level, as well as managing screening enrollment targets and caps, all without any system downtime. Startup phase sets the tone for the rest of the trial and doesn't have to rely on a finalized protocol. So it's worth remembering we can start while the protocol is still in development. So let's jump into the next slide and look at that in a little more detail. Okay. So while protocol development is the it's the blueprint of a trial, and it is while it's being created, it's the perfect time to engage in RTSM or IRT experts. Why? Because we can help you design an IRT that aligns with your protocol goals, especially if you're considering, a complex randomization algorithm. Our teams can work with you to brainstorm, evaluate, and refine randomization strategies, offering alternatives if they better serve your trial. As I mentioned, even if your protocol isn't finalized, we can begin system design using configurable templates and then adapt those as your protocol evolves, therefore reducing delays and ensuring readiness for FPI. All right, so what are some things to avoid when developing your protocol? So we often see the IRT as referenced in the protocol. Now, doing this too early can lock you into a suboptimal design. So whenever you come across a scenario where you think you need to include the IRT in the protocol, reach out and we can guide you through best practices and our experiences on there. So yeah, this is really where the tech and the consultancy meet. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for more from your IoT vendors. It's not just about software and technology. Ask for our experience and our advice as well. So now let's talk about the design and build phase. This is, as an IoT vendor, this is what gets me excited. So this is where your IoT system really comes to life. It's a really critical time for you guys as, on study team members, because you're often working with multiple vendors of different solutions at the same time. So we're here to help, and we try and make the process as simple as possible. So to some of the things we do to achieve that. So right from quick kickoff, we provide protocol-specific demos on day one. giving your team early visibility into what the system will look like. And those demos don't stop there. They continue throughout the requirements phase. So, instead of looking at a Word document and putting in requirements, we're using the system to make changes and show you what the system looks like, which, it reduces time of reviewing documents, it ensures first-time quality, and it also accelerates the UAT process because you've seen the system before you get to UAT. So you might ask how we're able to do that from day one. So we start with pre-validated templates, which can be tailored to phase or a therapeutic area or client standards, and often a combination of all of those things. This means we can set up a new study in a matter of clicks. So we just find the appropriate template and put in our study information, select the template, and hit go. So that gives us a pre-validated starting point, and this allows all parties to focus on the protocol-specific changes. So we don't have to look at an email template and what that looks like if it never changes on your trials, and that allows us to really focus on the randomization, the med allocation, those important parts of the trial. In addition to this, we offer sandbox access so that you guys, the study teams, you can explore the system in a safe environment, away from real patients and live data, helping you get comfortable with the system well before UAT and go live. So you get to see and play with the system before it's used for real. All in all, it's just a more agile approach to system design and development. And finally, making smart design choices at this stage is critical. And we always look to minimize data duplication and focus on collecting what's really needed and what's really important for an IRT system, which, as you guys know, is the randomization and the treatment decisions. This helps us reduce reconciliation effort later, and just sets the study up for success from the outset. Yeah, so this phase is again, it's all about the build and building a system that's not just functional, but also making good design choices to make it future-proof. All right, the next step, the excitement. We're now officially live, so we have our system and we're live. We've added sites, and now the real excitement begins with the enrollment phase of the trial. So we know things don't always go to plan. Recruitment rates can vary, and your IRT system needs to keep up. So this is how we can support that. So from a supplies point of view, IRT systems should give you full transparency into stock levels across all locations. So whether that's medication at the depot, unreleased medication, medication at sites, giving you that full transparency into where a kit is. So that allows you to monitor stock levels and manage expiry, and to make informed decisions quickly. The IRT is also responsible for automated site resupply. This is based on buffer stock and upcoming predictive needs. If recruitment is slower and faster than expected, you're able to go in and amend supply strategies on the fly, and you could do that yourself to ensure you're not sending too much or too little medications to sites. Our IRT system also lets you preview those changes. So if you make changes to resupply strategies, you can preview and get an idea of what those changes are going to do without raising an order or a shipment to the site. So that just allows you to make adjustments as needed, test them to make sure they have the desired impact before they're used for real. So moving on from supplies, on the study management side of things, the IRT provides real-time dashboards and reports of screening, enrollment progress, and allows you to adjust screening and randomization caps country and site level as necessary. Now, again, I'll say this again. So we all know that things don't always go to plan. So for example, we may want to, recruitment may be slow, and we may want to introduce new countries to the study. We actually allow self-service activation of new countries and depots, and our system allows those expansions with minimal disruption. So yeah, key to this phase of the trial is adaptability. An IRT system should be designed with that in mind. All right, so we move on to our next phase. And the study's been up and running for a while now. We're sort of in the middle of the study phase. And maybe things are working really well, or maybe a few tweaks are needed. So during this conduct phase, we all know change is inevitable, whether that's with protocol amendments, supply chain adjustments, data corrections. We're fully aware that those things are ever changing, and so we're going to look into how we can support you through that process and stay in control. So yeah, IoT systems should have self-service tools to let you update settings, manage cohorts, and respond to changes immediately. And as we saw during the design phase, we know larger protocol amendments do occur, and if they do require changes to the design of the IRT, they can be managed in the same agile iterative approach that I described with the initial study build. And that way, we can ensure the IoT system can move at pace and and keep up with the fast changing environment in which we find ourselves. So again, from a supplies point of view, as discussed on the previous slide, the ability of the IRT system to adjust, the expiry offsets, do relabelings, preview future orders. This can give confidence that the depots will, automatically restock sites as needed, but as well as keep an eye on depot stocks themselves. In addition, forecasting tools using the existing mid-study data can help you plan and avoid shortages, or while having access to the information in presentable dashboards and downloadable reports. Lastly, let's talk about data management. So investigators have control over their own data. So if something needs correcting or fixing, they can go in and make corrections themselves through the IRT system. Now, that's within reason. There are obviously some data points where we can control and limit their ability to change. A good example of that is stratification factors. If the patient's already randomized and have been assigned in a treatment group, that's the type of data point we wouldn't allow investigators to change. With giving that control to the sites to manage their own data and make updates, every action is logged with a full audit trail within the IRT system. So we can clearly see who did what, when, and why. Okay. Quickly touching on quality. This takes us back to what we discussed during the design phase. Even the best systems can only deliver good data if the right data goes in. So that's why we focus on simple, intuitive design, and that's really important to get the right data in. So the site users have a clean interface, clear guidance, helpful tooltips, and those tools allow them to enter more accurate information the first time. It's not just about making things look nice and pretty or capturing as much data as possible. It's about making it easy for sites to do the right thing. So yeah, this is where again, operational excellence meets technical precision, and we're here to support both of those areas. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the study now. So yeah, we approach the final phase, which is closeout. Everyone's attention shifts to reconciliation and reporting and data and everything, and ensuring everything is audit ready. So again, the IRT can help with that process. So we'll talk first about the access to data. So all IoT systems will provide on-demand exportable reports for all aspects of the trial, whether that's user data, site information, participant and visit information, inventory data. That should all be ready available within the IRT. Any past notifications can be resent at any time. Again, that's a self-service feature where that data is always available throughout the life of a trial, which is especially helpful during site audits and inspections. Every user action is logged, ensuring full traceability, as I mentioned before with the audit reports. And then from an inventory management point of view, as we're getting to the end of the study, the IoT can help track the full life cycle of a kit. So where a kit has been at any given point in time, from its initial release to being included in shipments, all the way through to destruction, with a full complete audit trail. So yeah, this will include any accountability, reconciliation, returns, and destruction documentation that's needed too. And then, as mentioned previously, through the reconciliations, any final data corrections can be made. Once again, investigator-entered data can be corrected without the need of lengthy data change processes, or with audit logs, which can be viewed and downloaded as well. So yeah, we get towards the end of the study and we've cleaned our data. It's all been validated. We have comprehensive reporting. And your team is then well positioned for closeout and to final database lock and analysis. So yeah, while closeout can be a stressful time, trying to get all those reconciliations in time, with the right tools and the use of the IRT experts, it can be just as efficient as the rest of the trial. Okay, so just to summarize the key takeaways of what I presented, and just something to keep in mind when you're working with an IoT vendor. So yeah, starting with ease of use and setup, working with pre-validated libraries, early access to demos. So that whole agile iterative approach to build means you can get the right product built at the right time, within the right time frame. Ease of use of sites with inbuilt help guidance, help text guidance and validated inputs. Flexible study management with self-service tools, and then full visibility with on-demand reporting from dashboards to detailed data change. And then finally, most importantly, engage with your IoT experts early. Again, they're not just there to build you a system, they're there to help you through that process. Okay. So before we get into the Q&A session, if you've heard anything you want more information about today, if you want to speak with an expert about how to best implement your study design within IoT, you can contact us here or via our website. And that concludes. Yep. So I see questions have been coming in through the chat. I'll pick a few out and we can talk through some of those. All right, let's have a look. Okay, yeah, I see a few questions related to integrations and how those are handled. So yeah, I'll speak about my experience. So yeah, at Perceptive, we have a specialist integration team that will work with your data managers and the other vendors to create the integrations between the systems. Um, I guess from my experience, it's really important to align the timing of the vendors. For example, the EDC and the IRT go hand in hand. One design informs the other essentially. And I've seen it often enough where, the one is built before the other. So let's say the EDC is built after the IRT, which then means the IRT needs amendments to capture, information that the EDC was now expecting to have integrated and we weren't planning on originally. So yeah, to sum it up, the good communication between the vendors, clear timelines and milestones for all parties involved is crucial. Okay. Scrolling through. So yeah, there's a couple of questions around the demos and how we're able to do that on day one. And also, what's this one? Oh yeah, so there's a question about those. I think I mentioned templates and can they be TA aligned, so therapeutic area aligned. I'll start with the TA question. So the short answer is yes. Um, So I think we'd approach this in layers when it comes to building those templates. So what I mean by that is initially we'll build a generic template for you at a client or a sponsor level. Um, and then we'd use that to uh, to create other variants essentially. So that generic client level one will contain terminology preferences, functionality that you typically would see, the notifications that you would normally, expect to see as well. The user group setup, so the roles that you would typically have in your trials. So all of that would go onto your more generic template. And then from there, we can create templates from existing templates. So once we're happy with the client specific one, we could then copy that to make a therapeutic area one. So using oncology as an example, we could create an oncology specific template, and that's already got your client information on there, but now it's been made oncology specific. And trying to think of an example. So maybe when you run your oncology trials, you always use the same common comparators. So that might be something we would build into that template, um, and then we would validate that template. So essentially, when it comes to creating new studies from it, um, knowing that the starting point is a validated system, we then would start a study, copy from a template, and then build in the study specifics to that newly created study. For example, you might want to, for this particular study, you might not be using one of those comparators, so you would remove it, or you might add a different comparator that's not part of the template. So that's just an example of how those templates can be used. Yeah, and what that does is that allows us to focus on what's changed between the template and the study, and then that reduces effort and time. Um, and then that sort of answers the other part of the question, which was how do we do demos so early on day one? And that's how it's starting from a template allows us, within a few clicks to create a new study, which has the basis of your client's specific oncology study. Now, it won't be the finished product on day one, but it allows us to have a visual of the system on day one, which helped drive, that requirements discussion. So yeah, hopefully I gave a good answer on those questions. Let's see, what else do we have? Um, oh yeah, so I see a question about the consignment preview that I talked about during the presentation. So yeah, this is a really cool feature. Yeah, I have a soft spot for clinical supplies people, and I get really excited by this feature. So I'll try we have a couple of different uses for it. So the first good example is around depot closures. So this could be around the holidays at the end of the year, whatever the reason, but you might know that that there's a closure coming, or the depot can't resupply during a period of time. So what this allows you to do is to pick a date in the future, and run the resupply algorithm between now and that date. So in a normal scenario, the algorithm runs daily and it looks out a specific amount of time, and it will automatically resupply sites. But if we know there's going to be an extended period, and we want to plan ahead for that, this allows you to go, as far in the future as you need, and yeah. So essentially, you run it for an extended period of time, and then visually on screen, it'll tell you exactly how much medication will be used by the patients that are expected to take visits during that time. It'll tell you how much medication you currently have at site, as well as how many the system thinks you will need to send to the site. So it gives you that option. Now I said it's a preview, but at the click of a button at the bottom of this output, you can then just raise that shipment if you would like to. So yeah, so you can also raise the orders from the preview as well. The other use where this is quite useful is, let's say you're a clinical supplies manager again, and you're noticing that there's, we're either sending too much or too little, or there's too many shipments going out. So this allows you to make changes to your resupply strategies. For example, you wanted to increase your buffer levels or change a D&D offset, and you wanted to see how those changes impacted your supply chain. So you can make those changes and run a preview of that strategy against the site, and see, it gives you those same level of details of what the system thinks should be in the order and included in the order. And then, of course, if you're happy with that, you can apply those changes to your sites. So yeah, really cool functionality. It's just very, like I say, I have a soft spot for clinical supplies people, and I get excited about talking about it. So thank you for the question. Okay. Ooh, this one's a good one. So are there any concerns with highly configurable systems to meet the needs of a protocol specific need? So yeah, this one does come up a lot when we talk about highly configurable systems. So what we do is learn from the past, and the present. So we, from our existing programmable systems, we've looked at all the features that have been requested quite commonly. So the things that are custom and fully programmed in a other system, we've tried to make, our highly configurable system have those features from the outset. So that's our first initial approach to that. But you're right, whoever asked the question, you can't have a configuration for everything in a system. So yeah, so our approach to this is, and I'll uh, sorry, just our approach to this, and I'll try not to get too technical with the answer. But with, so with a cloud-based architecture, we've kept this sort of scalability in mind. And again, referring back to the title of the presentation, future-proofing. So the system is built with modular functionality. So essentially all these features are independent, isolated blocks of functionality. And I like to use, those of you that know me on the call, I like to use Lego as an analogy. So imagine each feature is a Lego brick. And if we add a piece or remove a piece from a model, it may change the look and feel, but the whole model doesn't fall apart. And that's true for the approach we take to adding new features to the system. Again, with the modular approach, it allows new features to be added to the system in a fast and future-proof way. Again, thanks for that questions. So yeah, I do have some other questions in the chat, but we're sort of at time, so I'm going to collate the remaining questions and get responses out to you after we're done here. But yeah, So yeah, finally, I again just wanted to thank you for coming along. Again, if you want more information, please visit the Perceptive website or email the link on the screen. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ash. That's all the time we have today. If anyone submitted a question that wasn't addressed, keep in mind that the speaker will reach out to you directly. This session was recorded. You'll receive a notification in 24 hours when the on-demand session is available for viewing. And before you log off, please take a moment to complete the feedback form so we can continue to improve your digital day experience. On behalf of Informa Connect Life Sciences, thank you.